What are the plans for Future Yard in the future, and do you believe you'll set up any more initiatives?
On the back of the venue, we're building a new 600 capacity live music venue, so a second kind of permanent performance space, alongside 12 new music studios.
Let's say you're a secondary school student again. Yeah. What type of initiative would you look to start and why?
I think what I would be looking at is something which fundamentally excites me. I've got to be bowled over with enthusiasm and drive to do what I do, otherwise I'll just go and get a job.
What's your dream? I've got this dream, this belief, this fundamental idea that music can change the world.
Hello and welcome to another Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast. My name is Richard Layton, the Entrepreneur in Residence within the Brett Centre for Entrepreneurship as part of the University of Liverpool Management School. We're here today in Calder Grange Grammar School as part of National Careers Week, so it's a special for that, and we're here with some Year 8s and 9s that have opted in to do a Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast workshop day. Thanks to Mr. Connell for his help and support with popping that on day. He's a personal development coordinator within the school as well as an art teacher. And he also won Secondary School Teacher of the Year for Wirral 2025 as well. So you're extremely lucky to have a teacher like that here within the school. Thanks as always to Jay for producing and directing the podcast. Social entrepreneur today is Craig Pennington. He's the Chief Executive and co-founder of Future Yard. And our pupils who will be interviewing our social entrepreneur are Philip, Anae and Josh. And I'll now hand it over to you to ask the questions.
So Craig, what does Future Yard do and how long have you run the initiative?
So Future Yard is a community music venue based in Birkenhead, just down the road from here, just over the water from Liverpool. And a community music venue is a music venue that puts on live concerts. So we present artists from all around the world on our stage, our venue in Birkenhead. And that's a complete mix of genres. So we'll have like pop, hip hop, electronic music, drum and bass, jazz, classical, everything in between. But as well as putting on touring artists, we provide really, really safe, supportive space for emerging new bands and new artists. And then around that, we do a whole range of skills programs, training, education work, and community development projects as well. So it's a music venue, but a music venue that's trying to drive a deeper social purpose and provide positive change for the people of Birkenhead, Wirral, and the wider Liverpool City region.
Yeah. And how long have we been doing it? We opened the venue at the start of 2020. So what happened early 2020?
COVID.
Yeah. Perfect time to start a music venue. Or not? No, it wasn't. I'm taking the mic. Yeah, so that was challenging. Yeah. That was really, really hard.
So what were your favourite subjects in school and what was your favourite thing about school?
Oh, I love school. Yeah, I love school. Just because, you just get to hang out with your mates and do things that you're passionate about and you love and you enjoy. I love music. I love geography. Everything about like people and why people do the things that they do. So I did psychology a little bit when I was a little bit older in school. But yeah, I don't know what I was like. You'd have to ask my friends and my teachers. Maybe they would be slightly less complimentary about the version of me than I remember. But yeah, I've always had a real appetite for learning. I've wanted to understand the way that the world works. I've been kind of, intrigued by it. Not necessarily, I suppose thinking about it, that young kid who was doing a paper round for someone else and saw that there wasn't a paper round serving the 10 streets over that way and there was another paper shop around the corner, to go around to the paper shop by the corner, buy 40 papers off them and sell them to the other streets. There was a natural way of me thinking about being entrepreneurial, doing that kind of thing. But yeah, school was hugely Obviously, school's the most important part of your life, but it was hugely influential for me, giving me the opportunity to. I remember our music teacher used to let me borrow the PA system at the weekend. So when I was putting on gigs in this pub back room for all the sixth form bands, the music teacher used to basically let me come down. My mum would give me a lift down in the car, lob the PA system in the back of the car, drive it to the pub, set it all up, and then pick it back up on the Sunday morning and bring it back to school on Mondays, and no one actually knew that it had gone. So I had really, really supportive teachers who kind of humoured me and supported my passions. So I was lucky in that sense.
So I don't think they had a business like GCSE at that time. Do you think like school how could they have encouraged or supported you more into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, we didn't have a business studies option, and there wasn't any kind of business option like that at school. We were saying before we started recording, I firmly believe that understanding the basics of business, how a profit and loss works. So a profit and loss, simple sheet where you look at the money that's come in, look at where your revenues come from, and your costs, where your money's going out, and making sure that you've got enough money coming in to pay for the costs that are coming out, and hopefully a little bit left over as well. But understanding the difference between a profit and loss and a balance sheet, and how the fundamental aspects of running a business work, I firmly believe should be a core part of the curriculum. So, because that's not just important for running a business, it's also just important in life. So making sure that when you're earning your wages each month, you understand how much you've got to pay out in rent and tax and food and hanging out with your mates and going to match and doing the things that you want to do. I think it's a fundamentally important life skill. So yeah, it's not a criticism of my school. It wasn't something I learned. I just don't think it was what kids were being taught at that point. It used to be a thing. I remember my mum telling me about doing home economics when she was in school, which kind of went wildly out of fashion, but so important. So yeah, I'd like to see a basic understanding of the principles of business and how it works being something that all young people learn, which is why it's super important and great to see this initiative that's being hosted here at Caldy.
Yeah. I know you said you love school. So did you go to sixth form and university after studying your GCSEs, and how did that help you develop your entrepreneurial skills?
Yeah, so I did. So I went to sixth form at Moslands after doing my GCSEs. And then after sixth form, I went to Leeds University. I went and did a... So you went as well?
Yeah.
I loved Leeds. It was fantastic. I did a geography degree, so I did a BA in geography, and it was, it's completely shaped the person that I am today. And some of that was to do with the subject that I did. So I learned a lot about alternative kind of ways of viewing the world. I remember doing a module all about the Zapatistas in Mexico and the way that kind of society is structured, and about kind of a positive view of like socialism. There was one tutor when we first went who basically forced us all to read broadsheet newspapers and kind of like just open up your view of the world in a different way. It was, but also as well as, I wrote my, interesting looking back, my dissertation. So at the end of university, you do like a big project called your dissertation. And I wrote mine on why Liverpool had always been such a successful producer of music. So it was all about the kind of social history of the city, immigration, all the different cultures, different groups of people that have made Liverpool their home, their music, and the various ways that that's come together in this fascinating kind of culture, and created all of these different, hugely influential music kind of artists and moments and genres that have shaped global pop culture. So I wrote my dissertation on that. Sometimes people say to me, you run a music venue and you did a geography degree, they're not linked, but they inherently are. But the most important thing about my experience at university probably wasn't the subject that I did, it was the things that I did alongside that. So I presented a show on the student radio station. I started writing about music for the student newspaper. And I actually got a job working for Sony and Columbia Records when I was at university. I was, we used to call it like a campus marketing kind of rep. So whenever a record came out at that time by like Beyonce or The Coral or artists that were releasing records at that time, it was my job to get it on the student radio and the student press, to organise kind of giveaways at student club nights. And that was my first kind of insight into the way that the music industry actually works. But as I say, that was basically a side hustle job that I was doing alongside my degree. And then when I finished university, I went and got a job working at Sheffield University Students' Union in their events team. So we were basically putting on all the gigs in all of the venues at Sheffield University, which was, you know, everything from like, we put on everything from like Paul Weller through to Amy Winehouse and Adele and all kinds of shows. And then after that, 6 months doing that, I started my own business in Leeds. So yeah, it shaped me who I am today.
Yeah. What did you do before starting Future Yard? Obviously, you've told us a bit about your paper round and your side hustle, but did you work for anyone else? And what did you learn?
So when I finished at Sheffield University in the events team, I started a business in Leeds there's a space called the Rock and Roll Circus, which was a small like rehearsal studios and kind of art space that we ran in Armley, which is just on the outside of Leeds. And then alongside that, I ran a record label and a promotions company called Dead Young Records. And we used to put on gigs in places like Hebden Bridge Picture House with artists like Richard Hawley and British Sea Power and the Bees and people like that. So I ran that probably for about 5 years. Then we came home in 2010 and I started Bido Lito. Bido Lito was a music and creative culture magazine in Liverpool, which we ran for 11 years, which was all about championing and supporting emerging new music and creative culture in the city. But by running a magazine, the thing that I realised is you get to know everyone. Everyone wants to know the person that's running the magazine because everyone wants to be in the magazine. So it was a brilliant way of learning about the music kind of scene and the creative culture in the city, the politics of that, how things are funded, how music isn't understood by politicians. We ran a festival alongside that called Liverpool International Festival of Psychedelia and won an NME Award for the best small festival in the country. We did all kinds of different things during that Bido Lito period, which ran for 11 years. We had 113 editions. And basically through that whole thing, I eventually kind of crystallised this idea of if you could create a community music venue that not only put on the most exciting, best new music from around the world, but also use that as a way of really, really driving positive social change in a place. I was like, I want to do that. I want to do it in Birkenhead, and I want it to be called Future Yard. So, yeah, that's where it kind of all built up to that point.
What is the best advice you can give to a student who's looking to start a business out in like school times?
I mean, always start with something that you are fundamentally passionate about, interested in, and love. I think that, you know, sometimes when people think, oh, I want to start a business, I understand the motivation for that. Like the paper round, let's be honest, I started the paper round because I saw the commercial opportunity. That's why I did that. At the time, I was trying to get some cash together because there was a thing that I wanted to do. But really, when you're thinking about something that was more of a project than a business that's kind of got like legs and I want to do for a period of time and I'm going to put all my time and energy into something, you've got to start off with something that you're not just passionate about, that you deeply understand. Like I was talking about where Future Yard came from. That was an 11-year period of basically immersing myself in the way that music works in a place. So if I'm going to open a venue, which is going to be the anchor for music in a place, I've got to completely and intimately understand the role that plays within a community, within a town. So I think starting from the position, if you're going to start a business when you're in school, something that you're passionate about, something that you love, something that you really, really do understand, yeah, that'd be my starting point.
What are the plans for Future Yard in the future, and do you believe you'll set up any more initiatives?
Yeah, so it's an exciting time at the moment. So we've just started building work at the venue. So on the back of the venue, we're building a new 600 capacity live music venue. So a second kind of permanent performance space alongside 12 new music studios. So we're looking to really, really expand our skills and education programs. So we do a variety of things, including a project called New Noise Music Centre, which we do on Saturday mornings, which is for kind of 13 to 16-year-olds, all about kind of basically getting the opportunity to play instruments, form bands, write your own music and play on our stage. So the new building project will give us a bigger venue to do bigger shows, bigger artists, but also much more space to be able to do more in the way of our skills and our learning and our education projects. So yeah, that's the big kind of new thing that we're working on at the moment. And in terms of future initiatives, I mean, I can't really, let's see what happens in the future. At the moment, I'm so kind of immersed in what we're doing with Future Yard that it's hard to see something fundamentally different past that, but I know that time will come. I mean, looking back at me and my career, I normally last about 6 years in a project before I get itchy feet. I want the next thing. I'm 6 years in now, and I feel like we're really deep in it, so it's going to be a while, yeah.
Right, let's say you were a secondary school student again.
Yeah.
What type of initiative would you look to start and why?
Well, that makes loads of money. It's the opposite of what I just said, isn't it? What would I look to start now? Well, I mean, I'm not completely ancient, but like the world is very different now from when I was in secondary school. I mean, it inherently is. So, I'm not going to tell people to do things in kind of sectors or spaces that I don't understand. I think what I would be looking at is something which fundamentally excites me and wants to make me get out of bed in the morning. I've got to be bowled over with enthusiasm and drive to do what I do. Otherwise, I'll just go and get a job. Might be way easier. Sometimes, I mean, it's not, because having a job is very, very difficult and comes with lots of other pressures. But I think it comes back to that point around kind of passion and understanding what it is that you're trying to achieve, why you're trying to achieve it in a space, a thing, a sector, a kind of a bit of a world that you love and you're passionate about. And then you can work out the business stuff. There's so much knowledge available in the world. That's one great thing now. The tools that are available at touch of a button, you can understand how to put together a business plan. You can understand how to do a cash flow forecast. You can understand how the kind of the practical things that you need to know. That knowledge is really, really accessible. But what AI can't do is that spark, is that idea, is that human connection with people. Like, we're quite fortunate. Our business model is based on putting lots of humans together in a room. It was a nightmare during COVID because you couldn't do it. But now, especially in the digital world that we live in, I think human experience and human interaction is more important than it's ever been before.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people who went to school online during COVID would recognise that it's way better being in a building with your mates. So yeah, I think for me it would be thinking about human connection, it'd be bringing people together. I would probably be throwing gigs with the sixth form mates in a pub back room and inviting all the other sixth form bands to come and play and having a party, which I think that never goes out of fashion.
So that was awesome. Thanks to Philip, Anne and Josh for asking the questions. And we'll now go to the audience. Hopefully some of you who've been listening have a question for Craig. So I'll come out into the audience now.
What made you start your business?
I'll give you the honest answer rather than kind of pale it back. So I believe that Future Yard was founded on like one fundamental founding belief, and that's that music can change the world. I genuinely believe that music has this kind of profound power, not just to kind of practically make things better emotionally, but also to give people that meaning in their lives. There's loads of jobs, there's loads of opportunities. There's also, if I say to you, give me a name of a city in the world where music happens.
Liverpool.
Liverpool. You might also have said New York. You might have said Austin in Texas. You might have said Nashville. Like these places that are synonymous with music. I believe music has the power to kind of reimagine what places are. So why did I start it? Because I believe that my hometown can be a globally recognised centre for new music. I think that there will come a time in the future where you go up to someone in the street in Los Angeles and say Birkenhead, and they think, oh yeah, that's the place where music happens. That's why I started.
It's happened in other places like Detroit and Berlin, for example. Obviously, they're two places that were sort of run down, sort of industry died, people moved out, but actually creatives moved in, not only sort of artists, but musicians as well. And that's very much helped to completely rejuvenate where they're going as spaces and places. And now people are vying for and fighting for to move into places like that. And culture and music and things like that has helped, redevelop and grow that. So I definitely agree with what you're saying there.
I also I'm just not that great at having a boss. I think maybe because my dad was my first boss. And it's like, I just was spoiled. Because it's not really like having a boss, like hanging out with your dad. So yeah, I've always really, really valued kind of being in control of what I do with my time. Not that I'm against working for someone else. There might well come a time where I do go and work for another organisation or work with someone else, but I think there's a lot to be said for being empowered to do what you want to do and, kind of the impact that you want to have the impact that you want to have on the world.
How were the developing stages of Future Yard?
Well, the COVID bit was a nightmare. that was challenging, but you know what? In some ways, it was really interesting that the whole kind of first 18 months during COVID was obviously really challenging. We couldn't have anyone in the building. The first gigs that we did at Future Yard didn't have any audiences in the room, so we did it all live streamed. But that allowed us to launch some of our training programs. So the first gigs that we did at Future Yard during COVID, we had no audience in the room, but we had young people on our training programs that basically producing the shows. So it kind of allowed us to kind of shape the culture of the organisation and what we were. The finances around Future Yard from a development point of view have been difficult. Music venues across the country are finding things challenging at the moment because their traditional business model, is a bit of a struggle now. It doesn't really work. So I was very much, when we were designing the organisation, trying to develop a business model that does work and will work for decades going forward in terms of the governance structure and how we build it. And we're a community interest company. So what that means is we're a normal limited company. So we sell things and we sell tickets and we sell beer and we sell pizza and we put coats in cloakrooms. But if we make a profit as a community interest company, that profit can't go to a shareholder. So I can't take that money and go on holiday to Barbados. I'm not allowed to do that. What it means is that money has to be spent on trying to achieve our aims as an organisation. And for us, that's all about using the power of music to positively change our town. So when we make a profit, that money gets reinvested in our skills programs, in free tickets for people within our community who wouldn't be able to afford to come otherwise. So that's really, really important because the way that you set up a business, the way that you structure it, what form it takes, really needs to speak to what your mission is as an organisation. So the development stage was really, really important because it helped us to understand that and to put those building blocks in place.
As a music venue, what do you do to try and help and encourage new emerging young bands and artists?
It's a great question. We do a lot. So we run a project called Propeller, which is all about supporting emerging new artists, both in terms of helping them to create their music, so kind of on the creative side, but also on the business side. So working with artists so they understand the way that the modern music industry works, ways that they can develop their audiences, ways that they can monetize what they do. So that if they're earning royalties, one thing that a lot of new artists don't understand, that if you go and play a gig in a pub, even if it's just the local pub round the corner, or if you go and play a gig in a youth club, you actually earn royalties from playing your music live. So working with artists to make sure they understand that and they can go out and claim that money. So yeah, Propeller is an artist development program that we run, which specifically does that. And then I mentioned before our New Noise project, which is for emerging musicians that are slightly younger, so people around the same age as yourselves, is the kind of starting point that we do on that journey.
Do you have like a favourite band that's performed at Future?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. You're not allowed to ask me that one. It's too hard. Have I got a favourite band? Do you know what? Last night was great. We had a guy called Anthony Schmirek played last night, who's like a big kind of like pop alternative kind of artist, which sold out. He got all the audience on the stage at the end. It was mental, complete nightmare. Thought everyone was going to fall off, but it was good. That was good. Who's my favourite that's played at Future Yard? Oh God. There's a band called Cola from America. A really, really amazing kind of post-punk band. We've had on 3 times. I love them. So just before we started Future Yard, I mentioned I used to run a festival called Liverpool Psych Fest that we used to run every year in the Baltic Triangle. One of my favourite bands ever, a band called Spiritualized, came and headlined. So yeah, them playing that. I made a band called Goat, did the same thing. I don't know, I can't answer. I've given you some names. Hopefully that helps. I say to I've got a son and a daughter, and when they turn around to me and say, who are your favourite band or what's your favourite album? I'll turn around to them and say, well, that's basically the same as asking me to pick which is the favourite out of you two. And if I tell you, you're not going to like it. That's a joke.
We have a couple of closing traditions on the Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast. Our first closing tradition is to Simon Squib you and ask you what's your dream.
So I think I kind of mentioned it before. So I've got this dream, this belief, this fundamental idea that music can change the world. And I think that, I firmly believe that Future Yard as an organisation has got a mission. And when I was kind of imagining what the organisation might be, I very, very deliberately aligned the mission of the organisation with my personal mission as an individual, and that is to use the power of music to be a positive force for good in the world. So, yeah, that would be my dream.
Awesome, and it seems like you're very much living that dream and continuing to walk towards that.
In some form, yeah.
Our second closing tradition on the Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast is to Stephen Bartlett you. So we're going to ask you a couple of questions from the Diary of a CEO conversation cards.
Okay, cool.
Completely at random. We have no idea what they're going to be. Only we'll find out in a moment.
So, if you were on your deathbed and could leave only one lesson behind, what would it be?
Oh, it's going to sound really cheesy. Just follow your dreams. Don't let practical realities and the kind of like small-mindedness of people at things that can't be done influence what you can actually bring to the world. Dream big, crazy, stupid dreams, and then do everything that you can to live true to them.
What has been your proudest moment?
Ooh, what's been my proudest moment? Do you know what? This weekend we did a 48-hour continuous gig at Future Yard. We've got a crowdfunder running at the moment, raising money for our building project. And as part of that on Sunday, I mentioned before, so my son Bowie, as some people might know, goes to the school, and my daughter Georgia both played with their bands on the stage at Future Yard as part of that show, which felt like a really nice kind of full circle moment. So that was, I was super proud of that.
Thanks ever so much to Mr. Connell again for supporting us today to come in and run the Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast and workshop for the day. Thanks to Philip and Josh for interviewing our social entrepreneur, Craig, Chief Executive and co-founder of Future Yard. Thanks as always to Jay for producing and directing the podcast. And finally, thanks to Paul Brett for his support of the Brett Centre for Entrepreneurship, and also to Sir Peter Rigby for his support of the Enterprise Education in Secondary Schools programme. And finally, thanks for your time and attention, and we look forward to seeing you in another Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast in the future. Take care for now.